how do we, survive today? Because as more people are uncertain about their future, they go nuts.
Following a 25 basis point rate hike by the Federal Reserve and optimistic job reports, many are of the opinion that the economy is headed towards a smooth descent after experiencing its highest level of inflation in decades. However, best-selling author and investor Robert Kiyosaki is skeptical, deeming it to all be a facade, and anticipates an impending catastrophic market crash. During an interview with London Rio, Kiyosaki expressed his concerns over the enormous money printing and the current state of the US economy. Kiyosaki's sentiments were heavily influenced by his economist friend Jim Rickards, who believes that we are currently or soon headed towards a depression. Kiyosaki, renowned for his pessimistic viewpoints, believes that the government is orchestrating everything with malicious intent. He further stated that in his opinion, all the issues plaguing the US, such as violent crimes, protests, and mass homelessness across major cities, are a consequence of a combination of an inflated currency and the lack of financial education. Here's more of what Kiyosaki had to say, but before we do that, if you like finance videos, please support our channel by liking the video, subscribing, and dropping your questions or comments below.
I'm not Republican or Democrat. Trump is my friend. But you have this guy, Joe Biden. You know what he did the first time he got elected, 2020? He took, and I'm an oil guy. I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I drive oil tankers with Standard Oil. So I'm an oil man. The first thing he did was he cut off the Keystone XL pipeline. I don't buy oil stock. I don't have no Chevron stocks. I don't have Exxon. I don't have BP. But I do own the oil. If you can print it, I don't want it. I want the oil. So I'm selling oil. I had oil wells in North Dakota, Louisiana, and Texas. So oil, when Biden came to office, was $30 a barrel. It's a good, fair price, The moment he cut off the Keystone pipeline, oil went from $30 to $130. See, because energy drives civilization. Let me say that again. Energy drives civilization. That was his first act. And I knew he and Kamala are probably communists. And when they did that, they took the middle class of America, made them poor. Does that make sense to you? Because you're standing there filling up your SUV and you're watching your gas meter going like this, and you're going, how am I going to pay for this? It makes you nuts.
Yeah.
You know something is wrong. So oil went from 30 to 130. I got extremely rich. I am getting extremely rich because I have good education, but not from school. But I'm getting richer. I'm going, but everybody else in the world is getting poorer. So that's why I think these are coming out. And you look at the states where most of the violence is coming from, they're very liberal states. Like California has the toughest gun laws going, but that's where the shootings are taking place. I live in Arizona where I can walk down the street with this and they don't care. This is the Wild West yet. So it's a matter of what's going on between this year in your heart. So when Biden cut off that XL pipeline, I knew that what you and I are doing, it's about transformation, not education. We've got to become more aware. And so that's my concern. So I was happy for about 3 days. I was going, oil went from $30 to $130. I think it's about $80 today. Inflation's coming down. I said, give me a break. 30 to 80, that's not much of a difference. Energy drives civilization. The higher the price of energy, the less civilized we become, Brian. And that's what Biden did. Plus, he opens up the gate for all of these. 250,000 people came across the border. And so then the governors of Texas and Arizona, they're shipping them to New York and Chicago and all this stuff. We're at war in America, Brian. This is a civil war. I'm sure you can see it, can't you?
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it. And that tension slowly makes its way over here 5 years later, but we don't have the same issues you have there. But I can see it, I can feel it, and I see what's happening. It's hard to recognize the country I grew up in. Luckily, my grandparents were both from Arizona. I spent time in Arizona. I shot guns in Arizona. I shot a 44 Magnum like that when I was 10. Also,
You were born with one of these in your hand.
yeah, and also, interestingly enough, Robert, both of my grandparents were, well, one set was, my grandpa Benedict was a cattleman out of Phoenix, Arizona, and my other grandpa was a farmer who grew potatoes and barley. So they were entrepreneurs by definition. So I think it was just in the blood around me that I knew these guys had to create and had created their lives. They never waited for a paycheck for anybody because, again, they were homesteaders back in the day. I mean, one of my grandpas, the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma, he went west to Arizona. When my grandma drove me around Phoenix, Robert, you'll love this story. She drove me by a field one time and she looked out the window and she said, "You see that field?" She said, "Your grandpa dug stumps out of the ground for 2 years before he could plant a crop." And I think I had been complaining about the air conditioning a little earlier, and I just zipped my mouth for about 2 hours. And again, there's a man he worked for free for those 2 years, digging stumps out of the ground because he was creating something, capital.
Yes.
And he never had to wait for a paycheck for anybody. And he created it all through his own work, and he hired workers. And so it was somehow that part of my education. I'm sure that's a bit of who I am today. I got lucky in that standpoint,
Well, it goes back to education.
Yeah.
Like when my Sunday school teacher said, "What made the three wise men wise?" She said, "They always sought the best teacher." And today, with the power of YouTube and what we're doing today, this gives you access to some of the best teachers in the world. Like you have Jim Rickards on. I'm going, he's a great teacher. He's my teacher.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm 11 years in this on London Rio, Robert, and part of this it's me seeking teachers. I have the best seat in the house. I always joke, if the cameras were off, I wouldn't care because I get the best education I've ever had in my life. And I went to some great schools. I spent 4 years at MIT studying mechanical engineering. It was great, but I'll take 4 years in this chair over that any day of the week because I get the best in the world. And the good news is everybody else can watch, but I do get the greatest education. So it's a good point, Robert. We want to always seek a teacher. And with YouTube these days, they're out there. You can find them.
Yeah.
And they'll help you transform. You mentioned Elon. I'm curious what you saw when you watch him go into Twitter. First of all, treat it like a business. So he sacks half the people, he's cutting costs, then exposing everything with the Twitter files. Some said he didn't buy a company, he bought a crime scene. What have you made of all of that? For me, it's been very entertaining to watch him walk in there and take a flamethrower to the lackadaisical attitude and the wokeness. But what do you see, Robert?
Well, again, I go back to 1965. I go to New York, I read this book here. If you read this book said it's been 1848, and he says that communism would take over America in 2 stages. So stage 1 happened in 1930. In 1930, Berlin, the Frankfurt School, sent teachers to Columbia University, Teachers College. That was in 1930. And if you notice what happened after that, that's when I was in New York in 65, riots started to breaking out. So the students were now rioting. There was Kent State and, this and all that. So I'm watching this. This is, oh my God. So it came in 2 stages. That was stage 1 was 1930, when the teachers went to Columbia University. Today, Columbia University is the heartbed, the heat bed. It's a horrible place. It's woke. Completely woke, gender bending, it's not about education anymore, it's indoctrination.
Right.
Stage 2 happened when my friend Donald Trump, and this is my friend here, when he got taken down as president. That was stage 2. And then I knew what Marx had written in 1848 was now true in America. But you and I have been seeing it coming all these years. And so that's why I'll say this was transformation. Will you give me $5 for this? And they'll find out how bad their education is.
Thank you for watching our video. For more finance content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, when in doubt, just hodl.